Every generation looks at the next one and sees a decline. They see a loss of values, a lack of grit, or a wandering mind. But psychology suggests a much darker, more complex truth. They are not getting worse. They are becoming different. The era of your birth is a silent architect. It does not just decide your age. It programs the very way your brain perceives reality, survival, and purpose. To understand the friction between us, you must understand the psychological blueprints of the generations. You must see the world through the eyes of those who came before and those who follow. Here is the truth about the minds of our time. 1. Baby boomers. The builders. They were born into a world rising from the ashes of total war. Everything in their environment screamed stability, progress, and the sanctity of the family unit. Psychologically, their brains were wired with a singular, powerful command. If I work hard and follow the system, I will be safe. This is why they value loyalty, routine, and a rigid respect for authority. They are not old-fashioned by choice. They are the products of a time when the social contract actually worked. If you put in the time, you got the reward. But there is a hidden pain here that many miss. As the world shifted into digital chaos, their sense of purpose was shattered. They spent a lifetime building an identity around their labor and their place in the hierarchy. Now, in a world that moves too fast to notice them, they struggle with a haunting existential question. Who am I now that the world no longer needs me to build it? Underneath their calm exterior is often a deep fear of being obsolete. 2. Generation X. The survivors. They are the middle children of history, left to raise themselves in the shadows of the builders. They were the first to see the cracks in the foundation. They watched their parents lose jobs they were promised for life. They saw the rise of divorce culture and the fall of the traditional home. They became the latchkey kids, returning to empty houses and learning a cold, hard lesson early. No one is coming to save you. This created the most self-reliant generation in human history. They do not show weakness because weakness was a luxury they could not afford in an unsupervised world. They developed a high-functioning emotional armor and a deep-seated skepticism of any institution that promises security. If the boomers built the systems, Gen X learned how to survive in the wreckage when those systems finally broke. They are the masters of the ignore it and move on mentality, but that armor often hides a deep, quiet loneliness. 3. Millennials. The dreamers. This is the generation that was told they were special and could be anything, only to graduate into a world that offered them nothing. They were raised on the promise of a golden digital future, then slapped with the reality of the 2008 crash and a collapsing job market. Psychology calls this expectation trauma. It is the result of a brain growing up believing the world is a meritocracy, only to realize it is a lottery. This is the root of their chronic burnout and the imposter syndrome that haunts their quiet hours. They feel like they are perpetually running a race where the finish line keeps moving. But there is a shift in their wiring. They are the first to prioritize meaning over a paycheck. They do not want to just survive. They want to feel alive. They are the unstable bridge between the analog past and the digital future, perpetually restless and searching for a sense of enough that always feels just out of reach. They are trying to find purpose in a world that feels increasingly hollow. 4. Generation Z. The hyper-aware. They did not discover the internet. They were born inside the machine. This has fundamentally altered their psychological makeup and the way they process stress. Their brains are wired for a relentless stream of speed, notifications, and global trauma. They can process more information in a second than a boomer could in a week, but it comes at a devastating cost. Constant mental noise. They are not sensitive. They are overloaded. They feel the weight of every war, every environmental collapse, and every social injustice in their pockets, 24 hours a day. Psychologists call this digital burnout. It is a young brain forced to process the grief of the entire world before it has even learned how to process its own. They do not crave more information. They crave peace, authenticity, and a shred of control in a world that feels like it is spinning out of orbit. They are more skeptical and more anxious because they see the world without any filters. 5. Generation Alpha. The unknown. They are growing up in a world where the line between human and algorithm is beginning to blur. They are the first to be raised by artificial intelligence and parents who have spent their entire adult lives online. Their world is defined by total customization and instant gratification. They will have less patience but more information. Less physical freedom but total virtual control. The psychological risk for Alpha is the loss of the true self. In a world where everything is digital and curated, the challenge will be learning how to feel real. They are being programmed by screens before they can even speak. If they fail to find a balance, we may see an entire generation that is connected to everything in the universe, but completely disconnected from their own souls. They are the ultimate experiment in what it means to be human in a post-human world. The truth is that every generation is a reflection of the world they had to survive. You are not born different. You are wired differently by the era that shaped you. Boomers built because they needed a foundation. Gen X survived because they had no choice. Millennials searched because they were promised a dream. Gen Z questioned because they saw the truth. And Alpha will redefine what human even means. The next time you see a generational conflict online or at the dinner table, remember, it is not a battle of character. It is a collision of different psychological worlds. Because the time you grow up in does not just change your behavior. It changes your brain. You are not better or worse than the person next to you. You are just a different chapter in the same story.